Love is a way of building to a crescendo. Ride if you will, ride it with me.
My achiness is basically gone. Oh, you know what I just thought of? There was on America's Test Kitchen. They've got a series going on YouTube. Just look up America's Test Kitchen. Some of the most in-depth and interesting. I think a lot of people have wrongly accused them of bias when it comes to their product testing. I don't really see that. I've never seen the bias. I've only ever seen them recommend things that they're like, I can bang it on a rock and it doesn't bust. That's pretty good. And then I can take it back over to the stove and use it and nothing sticks to the pan. That's pretty darn good. So, you know, I just see a lot of real world testing and a lot of abusive testing and extreme case scenario testing. And I like America's Test Kitchen. They told us, and this is after we had gone to Arizona to the olive oil producer grove. They had a grove of olives, like many olives, all of the olives in Arizona. And they said, and America's Test Kitchen reiterated and reminded us, if you ever buy a bottle of olive oil does go bad. I know we're doing coffee, but whatever. This is my therapy, whatever. I'm explaining things. I wanted to be a teacher. So when you buy olive oil, it does go bad. And I believe it doesn't just go bad, it goes rancid. So rancid, bad. Rancid is as terrible as it sounds. Taste changes. It might not necessarily be harmful to you at first, but the taste and flavor diminishes and it's just terrible. It's a terrible taste. Olive oil, about a year. Whatever you don't use, that's why you should get smaller bottles. Don't get the big ass bottles because they're cute. Unless you plan on using all of that oil. Use the small bottles. You can get through them quicker. I mean, we use a lot of olive oil now. We didn't use so much before, but we do use a lot of olive oil now. If you get olive oil at the store, try to find a harvest date. Now see, this olive oil was harvested, as in picked, in October, November of 2024, which is really good because that means from tree to bottle, you know, that's a really good thing. And it's extra virgin olive oil. There's a certification olive oil has to pass before it can be labeled virgin or extra virgin olive oil. It's a standardized thing. So if you see extra virgin olive oil, it's a certified thing that the bottler has to go through. If it just says olive oil, or if it has olive oil with flavorings, it doesn't have that certification. That doesn't mean it's bad. That just means that it's not certified. And certifications matter in some things, and certifications don't matter in other things. But, you know, it just depends on your preference. And it also, there's also another thing that they do. There's cold pressing, which just runs the olive oil through once. So in order to be virgin or extra virgin, it has to be cold pressed to extract all of the oil, and that can only happen once. If something is just labeled olive oil, it is possible that that oil came from olives that were pressed twice or heat pressed. And, you know, you get to a certain bitterness and acridness, if the acridness is a word. The oil can become acrid and bitter and just doesn't taste good. That doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it's not peak flavor for olive oil. And you know, if you're buying olive oil, you should get olive oil that tastes good. I'm not sponsored by the Olive Oil Council. I'm just here as a public service. So you want to look on the side of the bottle and you want to look for a harvest date. Now this says best if used by November of 2026. Now I think that might be a little long, but if you look up here and you don't see a harvested date, and you see good until this date, if it says a good until 2025, that may have been bottled in 2023 and maybe close to going rancid or spoiling. We've seen on store shelves olive oil bottles that say they were harvested in 2023. and are still on the shelf and are still good until late 2025. And, after reading what we've read and seeing what we've seen and trying to come to an understanding when it comes to the foods that we eat, it seems like your best bet, I don't even think it's more expensive. I just think it's just adjacent. The more expensive the olive oil, it doesn't even mean that they have this harvested date on it. It's just a more expensive olive oil. It's not, that doesn't mean anything. So I just saw this and I'm like, yeah, see this first cold press, there's second pressing too, but they can't register it as virgin or extra virgin olive oil if it's been pressed twice. Only the first cold press can be certified as virgin or extra virgin. And I think that's interesting. What do we put in our bodies? It's just something to think about. If you have time, if you don't, I mean, we just rediscovered lard. It's okay. We've been doing pork belly in our air fryer. It's not healthy. It's just tasting better. It's looking after yourself by making things that taste better for you. It's not necessarily just weight loss and trying to be healthy. I mean, sometimes if you just better the food that you're putting in yourself, the healthy part can just come along with it, Anyway, sorry, that's my morning constitution. It snowed again outside. Not a great deal, but enough to cover up. I want my towel. I'm not rubbing, I promise. But enough to cover up, recover up the sidewalks and make them look pretty, much to the dismay of all the dog walkers. So I'm gonna go out in it today and get the mail, because I haven't gotten the mail in a couple of days because I've just been inside. It's like I've been sick. I didn't want to go outside. When you feel sick, you don't want to go outside. So I've just followed that instinct. I'm just not bothering with the outside. I'm gonna do about 32 grams of this. This is the no, I've almost got it correct. It's not completely correct. Okay, a little too much. Sounds like my water's done. Was I waffling for that long? 33, okay. Yeah, water's done. Good. Whoop, and we're spitting and sputtering and spatting. Okay, so 33 grams of coffee. I'll take a nice on the nose. This is the Highland Grog. It's caramel and other things. I'll flash it on the screen. I'll look it up and flash it on the screen. It's the wonderful thing about editing. You can do anything you want in editing, It's fun. It's a joy. It's a joy to piece something together, It's very strong when you freshly grind coffee. It's in a wonderful strong aroma. Get you going. You're next, kettle. I'm gonna pour the hell out of you. This is the fun time. This is the fun time for being sick for me. I mean, I know it's hard to think that there's a fun time with being sick, but I know my nose is still full, more or less. It's not as bad as it was, but the voice I get. This is the radio voice. This is the radio voice that I want. I mean, I don't want to do the throw up thing. I hate the throw up thing. It sounds like you're going to throw up, and you don't want to George Takei it. You really don't want to George Takei how you say words. But it's just, my voice is just at that perfect point where I can do that. I can kind of do that normally, but I get into a coughing fit because it just grates your voice wrong. There's just something about your vocal cords that it just irritates them. So you're just coughing for, a good 10, 15 minutes after you do something like that. You drink a lot of water to try to fix it, but the water doesn't really help because it doesn't go through your vocal cords. That's not how it works. Your throat separates at a certain point, because you don't want water going down into your lungs, and you really don't want air going down into your stomach. I do know people that can take air into their stomach and then burp it out. That's pleasant. That was a high school thing. It was a grade school and high school thing as far as I remember. Alrighty. 450. There you go. This is a strong one. It's a strong coffee today, so. Marvelous. Yeah, kind of remembering that story about Mr. Vaughn and the heat exchanger thing kind of reminded me of some other things that happened in that high school. One of which was, I remember I don't remember names as much anymore. I remember faces. And there was this guy. I don't know if he really did it or not. It's possible he didn't. A lot of kids did shit in their minds and then bragged about it, in real life. But then again, I don't know. He was one of those I don't have much to lose kind of kids, I think. He pierced his ear with a nail. And he didn't do it in front of me, which, I'm thankful for. But he told me that he put a nail through his ear, and now he was going to have a pierced ear. You just wonder. You just wonder what happened. Because, I've seen Requiem for a Dream. I've seen what happens to the guy's arm when he uses a dirty needle on to inject whatever he injected into himself. I've seen that. So it's like, yeah, that happened to there. What happened to this guy's ear in the future? It's hard to tell. I don't know. I don't remember hearing that he lost his ear at any point, but I just remember that he was bragging in class to like the 4 people that were around him, which included me. Yeah, I put a nail through my ear, so I pierced my ear. And I'm like, that sounds dumb. And it's one of those things where those guys, back in the day would be like, whoa, man, that's so badass. Because it was like 93, stuff was still, it was like I said, it was in the middle of nowhere. So it's like, what do you do? TV had 3 channels, if you were lucky, because it was the Ohio Valley, which means we were either on top of a hill or in between all of them. So we were the foothills of the Appalachia. So it's like, if you wanted TV, you got one of those big ass satellite dishes. And I think those satellites, that was a craze that was through the 80s, the late 70s, early 80s, and then kind of died in the 90s because all of the satellites fell out of the sky or something like that. Or they weren't paying to maintain them as well or something like that, or relaunch satellites because of problems, or I don't know. There were just a lot of things, and, it just kind of phased itself out. So, what are kids going to do? They're going to torture small animals. They're going to go look at the dead possum. They're going to, they're going to go swimming in the Little Muskingum River, where no one should be going anywhere in that river barefoot or without a hazmat suit. It might be better today. I don't know. I can name you at least 40 people that live on that Little Muskingum Creek who don't have septic tanks. Guess where the pipe goes? It might be different now because the EPA and the forestry are able to track that kind of stuff a lot better. But back in the 80s and 90s, no, absolutely not. Hell, if our septic tank got full back in the day, it had an empty, it had a relief thingy that went down over the hill, far away from the house, but not into another tank. I can tell you that for sure and for certain. So, yeah, people that lived out in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, it's just funny to think about now. Because I am older and I am further away from that situation. But yeah, a kid put a nail through his ear. Yeah, I pierced my ear. I'm like, ow, where'd the nail come from? I had many questions, but even at that point in my life, I was like, yeah, okay, message has been received. We're good now. I'm good. Thank you. And, the thing you worried the least about in those hills full of radiation was tetanus. The main killer down in that area is cancer, 1,000%. And then the homicide rate's not great either. So I shouldn't laugh about that, but it's true. The cancer and homicide. Those are kind of the leading causes of death down there. And deer impalement. I think that's a close eighth. People going out drunk trying to shoot a deer, and the deer's like, not so much. And there's bobcats out there, so I'm not sure where bobcat attacks rank on the scale of I think we just started getting bears down in that area too. I don't really remember that many bear sightings growing up. I'm sure if that was a thing, we would have heard about it from everyone, but bear sightings were not really a thing. But my mother had said that there might have been some bear sightings, and they also like to have their own moonshine stills still in the hillsides. So it's like in meth and whew. So I take bear sightings with a grain of salt, to be honest. Oh, but Highland Grog. Yep. It's like it's almost like caramel and a little bit more vanilla. Like I said, I'll pop up the description on Bones Coffee's website, but it's really tasty. It's a nice, mellow, creamy, potentially inoffensive. I know I've said things are inoffensive, but to be honest, it's really hard to tell anymore. So, potentially inoffensive, not harsh, not bitter, not punchy in the face, kicky in the teeth. Coffee. It's just coffee with some added tasty bits to it. And the Highland Grog's really nice. It's been really helpful to have a hot drink in the morning, because, getting through the day, it's just my throat just, it just clogs up, and I got to constantly clear it. And it's all in my sinuses. It's not like it's in my nose. It's just in my sinuses. And getting it out of my nose through my sinuses is a difficult task. So I do have Sudafed, OTC Sudafed. So I might take another one of those today for giggles and shits to try to alleviate a little bit. But I also got to go out and I got to get the mail today because, I haven't done it all week. And it just seems like it's time to venture out for a little bit. It's cold, and I think another snowstorm is coming this weekend. Anyhow, thank you very much for tuning in this week. Thank you for coming back after the hiatus. It was a nice time. I enjoyed my time with my family. I enjoyed my time. Matt had the entire 2 weeks off, so that was really nice. He was getting antsy, though, I think at the end. It will be really hard for him not to have a job. He's got to have his hands in something. He's got to be looking at something. He's got to be doing something. He can't sit. I can sit, I can sit and vegetate. My mind can wander to places, so easily. But, he's a critical thinker. He likes to keep doing things, researching things, coming to understandings with things, that kind of stuff. He's a smart cookie. But we had a wonderful time on his 2 weeks off. It was great. Yeah, I'm sure he was very happy to get back to work. Because the guys that he works with, super cool and really, really fun to talk to. So thank you for watching. Thank you for watching this week. We'll be back next week with some more coffee. I'll dip into the family coffees, or coffee families. I don't know why I do that. Coffee families, coffee. Open that bag back up. It's in the freezer right now. Not going stale. I'm going to evaluate the Peruvian and Guatemalas from last year. I'm going to see if they are still viable. They're probably not. Even though I've kept them sealed up fairly tight, coffee goes bad. Just like olive oil. Olive oil goes bad. But coffee is more shelf stable and can last years. But if you're in it for the flavor, and if you're in it for the caffeine as well, the best time to drink a coffee is 2 to 6 weeks after it's been processed. If it's not ground, you've got about 8 or 9 months of freshness. If it is ground, you're probably looking at 3 or 4 months before it's going to go stale. It's not going to go bad for a long time, but the flavor that you want out of the coffee that you've purchased is going to go away, and you could just be left with bitterness. So just keep that in mind. I've tried to keep that in mind, even though I know I've held on to coffee way too long. But I got a lot of coffee up there, and I shouldn't. So maybe getting rid of the Peruvian and Guatemala would be a good idea. Thank you for watching. We will talk to you next week. I hope you have a great weekend. Stay safe. If you're getting snow, maybe go outside and watch it fall and enjoy it a little bit. That sounds like fun. Until next week. Have a great time. We'll talk to you later. Get a cup of coffee, and we'll see you later. Bye.